Jalen Williams is one of the best young players in the league. And I think he gets overlooked because he's teammates with Shea.
Bring the Knicks within one.
Now jdub, that step back three, even with.
But when I watch this Thunder team play, it's clear to me that Jalen Williams is their X factor.
Nuggets by 3. Williams on the run. They collapse and he puts it in anyway. I knew that was going to happen.
Because when he's playing good, the team is almost impossible to stop. Jalen Williams during this past year has blossomed into an efficient, strong secondary scorer alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, where he's averaged 18.9 points, 4.1 rebounds, and 4.6 assists. And since we started this new year, he has ramped it up. Not to mention the insane efficiency, and it's just his second year. But to understand why Jalen Williams has turned into the Thunder's X Factor, we need to break down what he does exactly on the court. Jalen Williams is a young player, but he also has a high basketball IQ, which he uses to get easy points. So let's take a look at this play against the Kings. Keegan Murray sees the double pin down being set up for Jalen Williams, so he moves in to top lock him away from the screens. But Jalen jab steps hard right and cuts back for a wide open dunk. Here against the Hawks, Jalen just takes a quick glance on the floor, so if he cuts now, he can just get past the first line of defense. And now with the ball, he can get to work to finish the play. Here the Kings start off by doubling Shai, so when Shai kicks it out, jdub cuts at the same exact time as the pass, making it extremely hard for the rotation to stop this. In this Thunder pick and roll, jdub is waiting for CJ to go tag the paint, and he times it perfectly, grabbing him another easy 2. Here against the T-Wolves, Shai's backing down his man in isolation, and jdub acts like he's gonna go set a pin down. But once Jaden McDaniels glances away, he cuts towards the rim, and it's more free points for him. Now don't let me fool you into thinking this is the only way Jalen Williams can get into the paint. Jalen is a jack of all trades, a master of none. Here against the Lakers, he attacks the Wood matchup, only to slow down. Then as he hesitates and changes his direction, Wood can't recover in time. He finds space to put it in. Off of the miss, Williams pushes it up the middle of the floor, hezzying and adding a combo, changing direction, and jdub picks up the and one. Here against the switching Warriors defense, all it takes is one soft pick, and Kuminga gambles on a reach, so Jalen just explodes into his next move, only to get picked up by Clay, but he can't do anything to stop the shot. Part of what makes Jalen so good is his ability to get extremely low to the ground, and when you're a 6'5" power forward, getting lower to the ground than your matchup, it can help immensely. It gives you more mobility, and it gives you more chances to blow by. And even when the defender stays with Jalen, he still finds ways to make the shot work. Here in the fourth, KD is guarding Jalen, and he hezzies to get him uneven. So he explodes into the other direction, attacking his top foot, allowing him to get right by. The speed of Jalen's crossover alone is another essential factor to what makes him a threat. It's enough to get defenders uneven. Here he uses it to get right by Grayson Allen. Sometimes Jalen will have these superstar shots that will fall. They're heavily contested layups, but Jalen can for sure make them. Even when Jalen gets denied going right, he takes what the defense gives him and he attacks the defender's top foot to get to his left side. On this play, KBD cuts him off and he just counters and cuts right back to his left hand. And he's figured out how to slice his way around all these extra arms. Now with the shot clock winding down, he drives and avoids all the extra help defense, finishing on the other side of the basket. And here he is, forced to pick up his drive, and don't underestimate his floater. Especially in bigs and drop coverage, if he keeps on backing up, he will just float it in from the rafters. On this play, jdub uses a combination of all of the combining factors that we've talked about. So he lowers himself, he attacks, he counterattacks, and he creates room to finish. On this drive, when he gets cut off, Jalen Williams will just confidently spring off the floor to cash a fadeaway. And this brings us into his second level of his game, the mid-range. When he comes off of screens, if the defender is sitting way too far low, he will confidently rise and fire to hit these middies. After getting a screen from Chet, jdub just attacks Looney. He uses his hezzy to force him to jump out, and then he proceeds to extend his dribble out away from Looney so he can fade it in. A couple plays earlier in the same game, jdub hunts out Kuminga and he hits him with one jab step, and he realizes how unstable he is. So he uses his first explosive step, and it's not enough to get by, so instead he bumps into him to create space for the pretty jumper to fall. This man's game is silky smooth. Here, in this drive, he almost lost his dribble, but when he recovers it, he confidently rises to make the shot. After their matchup hunting, jdub goes to work using a simple 1-2 to just explode by CP3, and CP3 creates some contact here to try and stop the drive, but it just ends up in a beautiful fadeaway. Now, jdub just barely pump fakes for 3, freezing Kuminga in his tracks, allowing him to drive and stops so he can get the step back to fall. Speaking of step backs, Jalen is not limited to only the mid-range, he can shoot the step back 3. Here he confidently pulls it against LeBron and he drains it. And when you see a guy making plays like this, you can't help but see future star labeled all over him. When the defense wants to contain his drive and they play and drop, he can make that pull-up 3. Here when Cat stays still, it's just too much room for him. And on back-to-back possessions, Cat does not learn his lesson, and Jalen is a really confident player. And just to bully Cat a little more, here's jdub hitting a pull-up transition 3. Jalen is also a top-tier catch-and-shoot shooter, helping contribute to why guarding OKC is so extremely hard. But surprisingly, Jalen Williams doesn't stop just here. Jalen Williams is a 4-level scorer. What do you mean 4-level? I mean he has a 4th level. His 4th level is unlocked in the 4th quarter. What if I told you Jalen Williams has scored a majority of his points this season during the 4th quarter? jdub averages about 5 points during the 4th, so here's him cooking against the Knicks. And guess what? He does it in all 3 of the ways we talked about so far. But basketball isn't just about scoring. So let's move on to his playmaking. In transition, Jalen plays with his head up, and as he pushes, he uses a head fake on the pass to fool Maxi Kleber so he can get it to Holmgren for the easy deuce. Here he pulls down the board and he starts running with all 5 of his teammates, and as the play develops, it turns into a 3-on-2 and he makes the right play. Here, Jalen gets the ball in the middle of the floor and notices Gafford is sitting way too far over, so he just kicks it into the corner for 3. Once Jalen picks up his drive, here again he notices that Gafford is cheating again way too far over, and Jalen will always trust his teammates to make the shot. Here the Thunder run a hectic action. Jalen gets the ball after a double pin down, forcing Barnes to help over, but then Gutty cuts, which forces Herder to help over, so Jalen makes the right read to pass to the corner. Here again, once he picks up his dribble, he reads the floor and makes the right play. Jalen and SGA have developed a connection over these last 2 years. We go back to cutting, and Jalen fires a pass as he made his cut, so the ball arrives right on time with no chance for the defense to react. Here, Shea uses the Pelicans' game plan against them, forcing them to miscommunicate, tapping BI's opposite hip, assuming that they would switch, and as Shea fades, Ingram is way too far gone to recover. One connection that has seen strong results is jdub and Chet. Against the Warriors, after Jalen cooks Clay, Draymond is forced to help over, and it leaves Chet in perfect position to catch it. Here, the speed and aggressiveness of both of them create this wide open opportunity for Chet, and obviously Jalen's still human. He ain't perfect with his passing. There are bad passes. Some are ill-advised, like why are you leaving your feet so early? but you have to constantly remind yourself that he is young and he's allowed to make mistakes. And the check connection isn't exactly 100% yet. When Jalen drives, he can also get caught up in the help defense. Here, he can't shoot the gap and he turns the ball over. But hopefully, as time progresses and his mistakes lessen, this man will have an extremely dangerous game. But there's always two sides to the ball, and luckily Jalen is proficient on both. His freaky athleticism combined with his lengthy wingspan has allowed the Thunder to use him as a free safety of sorts, so he can just run around the court and put out fires. He keeps his wingspan constantly in the ball handler's air room, wreaking havoc, but his arms sometimes just seem to go on forever. Like here, he reads the lob and he goes in to break it up. Not even LeBron is safe from his go-go gadget arms. The Thunder also use him as a weapon deployed against elite scorers when nothing else is working. Here he is locking up the best scorer in NBA history for 3 possessions. And goddamn, this might be one of the best KD contests in the league. But what makes Jalen Williams the X factor for the Thunder? Well, truth be told, we don't really know until the playoffs. But we know right now that when the Thunder win, it's a team win. But when Jalen Williams gets going, this team is impossible to stop. And depending on how good Jalen Williams can play in the playoffs, it's going to determine how far the Thunder will go. Because obviously, Jalen has holes in his game, and we don't know what he's really made of until after the playoffs. Let me leave you with these terrifying last words. He's going to get better.
Dub, you had a big bucket in the fourth quarter, and it looked like you tapped your wrist. Maybe said dub time. Can you just talk about your confidence in the fourth?
No comment.